Hey everyone, thank you for taking the time to watch this video with me today. We're going to be discussing the way Grace Church sets up and executes ProPresenter for our Sunday morning worship experiences. ProPresenter is the software that we currently use to display and distribute all of our multimedia throughout the building and on our stage and confidence monitors, whether it's videos, graphics, timers, cues. It even controls lighting, as well as most recently, thanks to Matt, some of our video switching capabilities is also being controlled through MIDI and ProPresenter. So we got a lot to cover here, so let's go ahead and dive right in. So I currently have it open here on my computer, and the first step to setting ProPresenter up for our Sunday morning experiences is importing our service from Planning Center Online. Now, I currently have I believe the 30th. Yes, I have August 30th pulled in already, but I'll show you how we typically pull that in to ProPresenter. It's quite simple. All we have to do is go right above our library here and click this plus sign. At the very bottom, it says Planning Center Services. We select that, and we go into this folder here, Grace Weekend Services, drop down that menu, and then Grace McKean or Grace Harbor Creek, or any of the special services that we have within this folder. So for the sake of this video, I'm going to click on Grace McKean. Now, typically, it's just going to open up any upcoming plans. Right now, I have it set up to pull up everything because I had to pull up an old service that had already passed so that I could do this demonstration and training. So you'll usually just see the next week, which is going to be September 6th, and then so on and so forth. It'll show the up-and-coming services. So it's pretty easy to find them. The dates are on there and everything. So I'm going to X out of this. So yeah, it'll just import it right into here. I had this folder selected beforehand when I was adding it, so it dropped it into the Sunday morning folder. I have split this up into special events. Sometimes we have different services, meetings, team meetings, volunteer meetings, worship nights, different things like that. And I'll put that in a separate folder. That way things don't get mixed up and it doesn't get super messy. And I also have one for youth. There will also be, which I should probably add in here, let's see, a library. We'll call this Library Youth as well, because they will be having their own versions of their own songs and their own presentations, and everything's going to be laid out differently for the youth ministry if they were to use the worship center. Okay, so we are going to be sticking with these three folders. We have a sermon notes folder, library, and then a songs library and a presentations library. So this just separates and organizes some of the different types of presentations and layouts that we have for graphics. As you can see, it pulls up down here. It says 43 items. Then we have presentations. We have 24 items. And then sermon notes, we have 0. That is because I have not imported those, and I will show you how that will typically work. So, first things first, let's go ahead and open it up. So under playlists, we have August 30th, and we have the layout on the left-hand side here that kind of shows us the full order of the service, every detail in order. It doesn't actually have the content. It's just the titles, kind of like what our text sheets would look like. So it's a great way to just kind of get a, 30,000-foot view of exactly what's going to happen in the service. And in the center here, this is where all of the graphics, videos, worship slides, as I'm scrolling down, you'll see all the different pieces to the service. And we'll go to the bottom here, songs, the dismissal. And the nice thing is the titles are included in here as well. So that way, if you have a text sheet in front of you, you can see we've got these headers, the gray pieces, which we can change those colors if we wanted to. And apparently you can change the name too. Woohoo! But for the most part, I'll leave it gray unless it's something that I'm, if I really wanted it to stick out, I could change it to like something like this. And we're not going to link a timer. That's also something we're kind of looking into to possibly use this in the future. So as soon as we get to a certain point in the playlist, there will be a timer that will be executed. So, but we're not going to get into that today. That's not something we have been utilizing up until this point. So let's start at the very top. I'm going to scroll to the very top and kind of walk through. So we have right now a pre-service slide, right? So before we even do the countdown, we'll have the Love Over Fear graphic. Now this could change. This could be a loop. This could be something else. Of course, it will change for sure. If we're just going to do the hero graphic for the sermon series, that's going to be different every single month or 3 weeks, 6 weeks, however long our series tend to be. So this was automatically linked. A couple reasons. One is ProPresenter is communicating to Planning Center Online, and on Planning Center Online, there was already a copy of the pre-post service slide presentation in there. So with that being said, it'll just recognize it and it'll pull it in directly to ProPresenter. So there's an unlink button. So in case this is the wrong one and it imported the wrong one, I can click unlink and then it turns into this this dotted outline box here. And if I'm looking, okay, so pre-service, I need the slides or the videos or whatever for pre-service. Usually I should be able to hit Command and then F, and then it pulls up our library. So it's a quick way to pull up our library, and then we can go ahead and type in, let's see, look at that, pre, and then pre-post service pulls up, and all I got to do is click and drag, and then a little plus sign shows up, and then it pops in there. So then when you click on it, it'll show up on the right-hand side, which, by the way, this right-hand side is going to be your main output right now. As you can tell, I have this labeled at the bottom. It says main output, but then I also have another one that says stage display. Now, this is so that you can see either outputs. You can switch it at your disposal, whichever one you want. I recommend that you leave it on the main output. That way your eyes can kind of stay on the screen. You don't have to look around to see if everything's executing properly, which, I think most of our campuses within the next month, we will have a multi-view on every campus so that you'll be able to actually see on a separate monitor all the different outputs that ProPresenter is sending. But for now, we're going to leave it on main output. So that's whatever's going to your main screen. Pay no attention to these. We don't typically use these different layer setups. I'm still learning it, to be honest, and it's not something that's hindered or helped us so far. So we're going to, hold off on some of these different extra settings. So we're just going to go down through the service and make sure everything is linked. We have a few blank spots that didn't link up, and some of these question marks, and then these little caution symbols, and we'll get to those and kind of make sure that this is completed for Sunday. So let's keep going. So we have countdown. The next thing we're going to do Command F again. That's going to pull up our library. Now this little blue section, we have two sections. We've got, that's blue because you selected it. So we have two sections. We've got the left one, which is going to be all of our plans, all of our presentations, songs, sermon notes, youth. It's all going to show up here. Everything right here, all of our library shows up in this blue section. It's kind of like an outline of the ProPresenter logo. And then to the right, this is actually Song Select, and it is an online database of all the songs that are done, popular songs for worship, Christmas, Easter, anything like that. So, you can see I put in pre, and it's trying to find something that, that coincides with that. So I can do like King of Kings and King of Kings. Look at that. Brooke, whatever her last name is, somebody from Hillsong. So that's kind of what that is. That's in case we are importing a new song or a song that we haven't done at Grace. We have to import it as a new song, and we will get to that here soon. But we'll go back to our library, and we're going to type in countdown. Look at that. We have one in presentations and in songs. The one in songs should be deleted, which I will have to do later, but we're going to go ahead and drag the one from the presentations folder. As you can tell from this side, that the reason why I knew that is because this smaller text tells me what library I'm pulling it from. So that's helpful because sometimes duplicates get made, and then ones that are outdated and not being updated regularly will be in random folders. So that's why we don't use the song one, because it is a presentation. So I'm going to drag it in. Now, this is showing a... Wow, this looks like... Here, I'm going to X out of this. This is a great example. So this is... from, I think, Ash Wednesday. So wrong graphic, question mark means the actual file doesn't even exist in our library anymore or in our media bin. And then it's also giving us this little caution symbol. So let's tackle both of those. First things first, we're going to import the right countdown. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to go up to the right here where it says library. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so we can see. Now, right now, I don't have any folders that are set up in our media bin. So I'm going to show you how this works, because this will be helpful in case as you get into the more advanced setting up of ProPresenter. A lot of this will be taken care of by myself or a tech lead at your campus. So what we're going to do is we're going to set something up here. I'm going to click Add. I'm going to add a new playlist folder. And we're going to name this one Love Over Fear, right? That's the sermon series that we're in. So this is just a folder that I'm going to hold all of our different weeks for this sermon series. And then we're going to add what's called a smart playlist. Now, the great thing about these smart playlists is because we have them connected to Dropbox, anybody from any of our, video editing or graphics team that's making content for Sunday morning, they're going to come into our service elements. They're going to click Love Over Fear, and whatever Sunday that it's appropriate for, they'll click on it and they will add the the actual files that they need. Now, not all these are going to show up when I import this folder. It will not import directly from a folder within a folder. That won't show up. And then also these ProPresenter where it says Pro Bundles, those will not show up either. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and click OK, and it's going to import whatever it can. And here we are. So August 30th, these are some different files. You know what? Just for the sake of curiosity, I'm going to look at something. We're going to go back into the service elements. Love Over Fear, 30th. Look at that. So that's actually something new. This never used to be this way. So you know how I said that the actual folder within the folder will not show up? I was wrong. That is something that has changed. So it looks like it pulled all of the content, all these different files, plus everything in this folder right into this smart folder within ProPresenter. So that is great. I love that. So that's a new feature with ProPresenter 7. Learn something new every day. Okay, so now the problem that we're going to be coming across here is normally I'll have if you look over here, I'll have every single week in here. So anything from the past weeks, and those will actually have some of the initial files for that sermon series or whatever the new files are for that month. So for an example, I pulled up August 30th. It doesn't have our countdown. So I'm going to add another, let's see, smart playlist. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. And, basically it would be in here somewhere. So I'm going to click OK. I don't know which one we'll have it. Look at that. That one has the opener, but just for the sake of setting this up so that it makes sense to everybody, we're going to go ahead and add all of them. That way it looks like it should on a normal week. Now, every month when we get into a new sermon series, a lot of this will be cleared out, and then we'll have another sermon series folder with all these smart playlists with the different weekends with the dates and everything like that. So what do I have? 9th, 16th, import. We're going to do one more. $23rd. Okay, well, this is a long month. Very cool. So this is showing us all of the different, now these aren't in order, which, again, as we do these in order, they will show up in the right order. Seeing as I imported them basically backwards, they all showed up backwards. So I just reorganized that. So now we look through these. So, for example, August 2nd, the first week, there's the message, there's the opener, the countdown. It's called an opener. That's just some verbiage that we're going to have to communicate with our video and graphics department. So what we're going to do is going to take this, you're going to hold it for a second, and then you're going to drag it in. And now that question mark disappeared, and when I click on it, hello, there we go. It's going to show the video. Hello, welcome. I have a feeling we changed the welcome video. Yeah, we did. So the first week we had this welcome video. And the next week, we had this welcome video. So I believe this one's different. It's like a different song or something. So I'm going to go use that one. As the weeks progress, all these notes will be given to me or the tech leads, and we'll make sure that these are all correct. Okay, so we have all these different folders, but we are on the 30th. So we've got our pre-service graphic that, we'll play like Spotify in the background, and then we also have our countdown video. So the first thing here, we have during service, welcome, setup service, and social minute. So this is a little bit different. There are cues on these that will coincide with our lighting software, and they'll communicate through the network and MIDI, just some fun stuff there. And this is how we run it at McCain. We are going to be implementing this at Harbor Creek. So for all of you who are listening to this that are a part of the Harbor Creek campus, you will want to pay attention here because this will be something we will start doing hopefully in the next month or so once we finish up Mankin, if that statement ever comes to fruition, because I feel like I keep saying that. So let's take a look at these. So these have cues. I have this as a blank slide. So technically it's not going to, well, just because this needs to be set to this needs to be a background, I believe, and themes, quick edit. So this needs to be a background. So I'm going to go into the, where is it? Timer action, good. Add action. Go to next timer, hotkeys, themes. Transitions? No, I don't think it's transitions. Okay, I'm going to get back to that in a minute, but technically the way this is supposed to work is this particular slide, all it does is cue lighting. It doesn't change what's on the screen. And the purpose of this blank slide is to cue the spotlights or host lights for whenever someone's coming up to transition between a worship song and the actual verbal piece or whatever it is that they're sharing, whether it's the connection card or kind of transitioning the service. The purpose of this one, though, that makes it different than a regular cue, like this next one has a cue as well, that controls lighting, is this one, no matter what the room looks like, the house lights, the stage colors, the intensity of the lights, it will not touch anything. It'll leave everything the same, and it will only turn on like the host spotlights or what have you, whatever we want to call those. So that way the vibe of the room stays the same, and then it just brings up lights for that particular part of the service. So so that's kind of how it works. And then we're going to take a look at it because there is a little caution note. So it says edit action. And the reason why is because these are being imported from another ProPresenter computer that has all this set up. This computer does not, as it's one of my personal computers. So I'm kind of going through all these things with you. And sometimes you'll see this on a Sunday morning and you'll have to be able to look at it and kind of go through it. All right, so we're going to edit this action. See, that's the one. It shows you which one that it's talking about if it's concerned with it not working. It'll have this little caution symbol. So we're going to click edit action. We have to actually click on the Vista lighting control device. It has to be on MIDI no off. Channel stays on 1. All of our lighting at McCain is on channel 1. I believe that's the way I'm going to want to do this for Harbor Creek, and then go between notes to actually have different unique cues. So now you look at all these notes, you're like, okay, there is 127 notes. Which one do I pick? Well, I'm glad you asked. So what I have set up on these computers is under the actual notes portion. If you pull up the notes here, oops, let's see here. If you pull up the notes within the software, we will actually keep that down here so that you'll always be able to access that. You can see that there is a cue list for ProPresenter. Now, there is the label, and then there's the actual MIDI note. And you'll see the notes that have, notes like C sharp, D, A, G. Those are not really important. As I started doing this more, I realized that I don't need to actually worry about the notes more or less. I just need to focus on the actual number that's in parentheses when you actually look into ProPresenter. So if you look here, we've got a countdown and dismissal. Countdown and dismissal is going to be 0. The verbal, which is when somebody comes up and does their actual piece, they're hosting and they go over connection card and whatnot, that is going to be cue 1. We have a video cue, which is going to bring everything down, the whole room down, and that's the MIDI cue 2. Sorry, verbal is 1, video is 2. The sermon, there are 2 different sermons. There's a live sermon, which I should probably differentiate that. Live sermon, okay? So that is going to be MIDI note Q7, and that'll keep the stage lit up, the room lit up, relatively with some backwash in some of the stage design. And then we have a regular video, and then we have a sermon video. The sermon video and regular video are different because we have to have the house lights, the actual room lit up for the sermon videos so people can take notes. That's why these have to have unique cues. And so on and so forth. Verbal worship. This is the one that I was talking about. So host the lights during worship. It's like a verbal worship cue. You know, I could probably change them so they're the same so it's not as confusing. But that is MIDI note 9. So I'm going to look back in here. We're going to go edit action for MIDI note off. And hey, look at that. It says 9. And we're going to click done. And if you look up here, that caution sign as well as that question mark are gone. Well, this one didn't have a question mark, but the caution sign's gone. And we also have a new icon up here, this little antenna kind of deal. That is showing me that there is a MIDI cue on that slide. Now we're going to have the same problem with this one over here. It does have that icon. Edit actions, the MIDI note off, the same exact situation. We have to make sure it's connected to the Vista lighting control. And I will double check again, but this is going to be for the host spot. So we're going to look at the verbal. I mean, we call it different things. So host. Okay, so verbal host, it is MIDI note, and that is 1, right? So we'll go back here, edit actions, media note, and make sure we are on one. See, it's in the parentheses, done. Okay, and then you have your service host. Now, every site's going to be different, of course, right? So we're going to have to be able to edit these and change the names. So for you who don't know how to do that, all you do is right click, you do a quick edit, and then you can change this to, you know, whoever the person needs to be, and then whether or not they're a service host or a site pastor. I made the mistake the other week, and I had Sarah's name up. Well, I had to change it to Sarah because it had Scott's name, and then it said site pastor, but I forgot to change site pastor, so it said Sarah Burt site pastor, and I was like, oops. So we fixed that after one service. It was actually in the middle of the service because you can actually edit these while they are up. So for instance, I have it up, right? It says Sarah. If I wanted to have it say, oops, let's say Johnny Maylett, right? So it still says Sarah over here. I'm going to X out of it, and then I can click it, and then look, the name's changed. So we'll just leave that for now. I'll fix it later. So as you can see, that has some nice features to it. So we change that on a week-to-week basis depending on who is hosting. All right, so we've also got this one. I don't know why I have two of these, so I'm going to go ahead and see why it's giving me this. So media note off. It's the same exact queue as this one. I'm going to just delete it. I don't think I need it. So now we just have one, if you ever want to put that back up. You can't see the queue like this one over here because it's a white background. That's an oversight on ProPresenter's part as far as when you have a white graphic that you can't see any of your queues. It's kind of a pain in the butt. Hopefully they fix that down the line. So yeah, so then we also, you know, we have our connection texting number as well. So our actual host presentation is good to go. Now, every single place that I actually have a host spot, because this is a presentation and presentations are unique, it's going to fix whatever I just did in every single part of the service. So if you go down here, look, there's another communications moment that had already imported the unique presentation that is the love over fear service host slide plus connection card. And everything that I had just edited up there has been edited down here as well, because it is just mimicking the information on that unique presentation, if that makes sense. Okay, so let's continue down the line here. The next thing after that in this Sunday's service is the social minute. I have a graphic up. It's just a still image while whoever is up there is setting it up. We haven't really been doing that, so I'm just going to delete that altogether. And this doesn't need a, it really doesn't need a queue, but I think the reason why we have it is in case we use this at any other point in the service, it'll be ready and already have the queue in place. So if I play a queue that's the same exact queue that's already up, it's not going to like dim the lights and bring it back up. It's just going to keep them the same. So it's not that big of a deal that this has the same queue as this one. So I'm going to go ahead and click lighting control channel. We're going to put that on 1 because that's the host queue, if that makes sense. So this is the video, right? So we click on the video, it pulls it up. We have different ones every week. And the thing about this is, as you kind of go through, you'll see that this one says, what's your favorite subject in school? And then that was for the 23rd. But when I go to August 30th, I'm like, okay, so what needs to be in there for this week? Because this is importing from last week's saved file that is called the Sunday Social Minute. Or Sunday Social. I'm not sure which one it is. I think it's Sunday Social Minute. So this is the wrong question, right? So I go to August 30th, and then I see what files that they have in here. And look at that. We got a new Sunday Social Minute. Now, one thing to note is every single one of these are queues like this this slide, so, right? It is a slide that has multiple cues on top of it. So the video is technically considered a cue, right? So I don't want to drag this next to it, because what that's going to do is any cues that I had on this video are now gone, because this is a new slide that's going to be a clean slate for new cues. So we don't want to do that. I just hit Command Z and undid that. What we want to do is take this video and drag it on top of it. And that's replacing the video on that slide, as opposed to creating a new slide without any cues. And now when I click it, it's still going to have the cue set up, and it's going to play the video up in the right corner. All right, so here we go. We're going to move on to songs, song block. We have The Passion, and then King of Kings. King of Kings already loaded because it's a song that we have done before. Planning Center Online and ProPresenter recognized that we had it, and they imported it. The arrangement is most likely wrong. That is something that we do during rehearsals. I'm trying my best to get the worship leads for each site to put all of their sequences, which, if you don't know, a sequence is the order of the intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, tag, instrumental, vamp, refrain, bridge, all the crazy different titles for each section of the song, which we'll get into that in just a second. So the sequences will import from Planning Center Online if the worship leader for that weekend made sure to have them in and ready for us before Thursday night. It'll automatically drag that from the web and put it in here. And that's if the sequences are correct. From my understanding, ProPresenter 7, they're still working out some bugs for this process. Right now, it doesn't seem to be working well. So we'll touch on that in the future when this is something that we're able to utilize with a more stable process. Okay, so song block, The Passion. How do I get a song in here? We're going to hit Command F, and we're going to look in our library first to see if we even have it. The Passion. Nope, we don't. Okay, so this is the perfect scenario where we don't have the song in our library. We have to use Song Select. So now look at that, The Passion. It pulls up. It's a brand new song. It's going to pull up the lyrics so that I can make sure that it is the right song. And then what we're going to do is we're going to hit Import. And it's going to ask me a few questions. It's going to ask me what theme I want it to be. And we're going to do, because this is the one that I have in here. Each site will have a unique theme. But for now, we're going to use the Harbor Creek theme because that's what I have in here. We're going to make sure that it's on this Harbor Creek Worship 2020. That changes the font. That changes the size of the font, whether it's bold or thin. That changes the position and the transparency and whatever. It does a bunch of stuff. So it's important that we make sure that our themes, the right themes, are selected. It's a 1920 by 1080, which is right. Slides delimited by paragraph break. I want to do line break. So that's every single line. And I want to do 2 lines per slide. So if you look down here, if you see all these songs behind it, 2 lines per slide, 2 lines per slide. So it's going to take all those paragraphs. It's going to ignore the paragraphing, and it's going to split it per slide. Because it's, because it's working alongside ProPresenter and Song Select, they're going to separate the verses and the choruses and the pre-choruses as best they can. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong, but for the most part, it's helpful. So now we're going to go to the destination. No, we don't want it in youth. We want it in songs, and we're not going to import it into a playlist. I haven't found that really works. If I go to Sunday morning, we're just going to leave it on none, right? So we have that's correct, line break, 2 lines per slide. And then that's the right size. That's the right theme. Destination. Import. All right, let's see how this looks. Cool. So this is automatically taking us into the songs library, onto the song, The Passion. And this is all the sections of the song. There's a verse. There's a chorus. It's 3 slides. There's another verse. This is 2 slides. There's a bridge, which is 3 slides. And there's a tag. And that's all there is to this song. I'm going to close the media browser just so that I can see this a little bit better. Okay, so first things first. Every single song, we start with a blank slide that cues a background video, like, the swirling colors or whatever we want. So this doesn't have that. And we also don't start the song by singing the verse right from the very first beat. So this is helpful, but it's not right entirely. So what we have to do is we have to edit the arrangement of the song. Now, the way we do that is up at the top here where it says The Passion. If you go all the way to the right, there are a few different sections. We want to click on this third one, which is our Arrangements tab. Oddly enough, Planning Center Online calls them sequences. ProPresenter calls them arrangements. You'd think that after working together for 10 years, they would have used the same verbiage, but they don't. So we're going to edit the master arrangement. Now, the actual order is not that important on the master arrangement because what the purpose of this is to have all of the proper groups. So if there's instrumentals, if there's a refrain, which a refrain is a repeat of a line from a chorus or a different part of the song, you have your intros, your outros, all that kind of stuff, all the in-betweens, where most of the time it's clear, like a blank slide, but sometimes, like I said, like a refrain will have its own category. So what we need to do is we need to add different groups, right? So we have these few here. We have a tag group. So I'm going to go to the bottom here. I'm just going to click on the bottom one, and then over here, there's a plus sign. If you can see where my mouse is, I'm going to click plus, add a new slide. And now it's actually, because I added it next to the tag, it is adding it to the tag. So every single time I put the tag in, which I'll show you in a minute, it'll have two slides. So to change that, I'm going to right click, I'm going to hit group right here, and we're going to go down and we're going to create one called intro, right? So now I have an intro. Sure, I can bring it up to the beginning just so it's less confusing. And we're going to do another one. We're going to click add a new slide. And then we're going to go ahead and right click, change the group, and I'm going to change this to an interlude, just so you have a blank slide to use throughout the song. Now, this can get really intricate when you're adding interludes, refrains, and different tags, outros. Let's add another one. See how it stayed green because I was selected on the interlude. That means it's adding another slide to that group, which is helpful when you're building out lyrics, but right now it doesn't really matter. So we're going to go back to group, and we're going to do, let's say, an ending. The reason why I'm adding an ending is because sometimes there are cues. Maybe when the song's over, you want the screen to go black. So having a unique group or slide that can cue a black screen is helpful. Not that we'll actually use that. Usually we just kind of progress from one image or one background motion graphic to another for the songs. Let's see here. Okay, so now that we have everything grouped up properly, looks like we have everything we need. We're going to add a new arrangement. Now this new arrangement, I'm going to call this one original. Whether it's the original or not, that's kind of where I start. That's kind of square one. We'll make different arrangements for maybe an acoustic service or for a special event. If we're doing like some kind of a montage of a bunch of songs, that's we'll get into those down the line. But right now, we're going to do it as original. So it's going to drag everything in order from what I had it onto here. And now that it's blue, we can do a couple of fun things here. So I have intro, verse 1, chorus, verse 2. Now, most of the time, there's like an interlude or a musical section in between the chorus and the second verse, right? I don't know for sure if that is the case for the song. So I'm going to open up Safari or Chrome or whatever you're using these days. We're going to go to Planning Center. I'm going to go ahead and just log into my account here. Now, there will be a Planning Center account that's already logged in. It's like a volunteer account. So you will be able to do this in case, like, let's say the band's practicing on a Thursday night and you're in here trying to get the arrangements done and they're not really doing lyrics or they don't really need you to be queuing slides at the moment. You can jump in, do everybody a favor, and get it figured out. So let's go take a look here. So it's not showing the last week. Again, this isn't a problem you will run into. This is only a problem we're running into now because it's after the 30th, and it'll usually show up right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the matrix, and it's just going to pull up the last. It's the quickest way to pull up the last Sunday service. So look, August 30th. I'm going to click on it there, and let's take a look. So we have, okay, well, that was a dumb move on my part. I imported the Planning Center service from McCain, and then I opened up the service from Harvard Creek. Everybody does different songs depending on the week, so we're going to change that. We're going to go to the matrix for McCain and see what we got there. The Passion, look at that, it's there. So if you look, King of Kings has a full sequence, right? Song arrangement, but the Passion does not. Most of the time you will see it show up right there, but sometimes that's not the case. There is a little glitch in here that this isn't something you'll have to do. I'll try to explain it as I go. So sometimes when the sequence doesn't show up in Planning Center services, you have to go to the rehearsal mix. The passion right here. So look, I'm going to unlink it, right? Even though we want it linked, and then I'm going to relink it, and then I'm going to refresh the page, and whoa, look at that. There is a sequence, finally. So yeah, little glitches that we all learn to overcome. Okay, so our sequence: vamp, intro, verse 1, chorus, verse 2, chorus, breakdown, bridge 3 times, vamp, chorus, tag, ending. So look, there isn't an instrumental in between the chorus and verse 2. So with that being said, I'm going to jump back in here. Intro. We're not going to worry about the vamp. We're just going to call it intro, right? So verse 1, chorus 1, verse 2, and what did it say? Chorus? Is that what it said? I'm just assuming because it's usually what happens. So verse 2, chorus, breakdown. That's going to be an instrumental. That's another word for an instrumental most of the time. Sometimes there's words, sometimes there's not. So we're going to call this a breakdown. And then bridge 3 times, vamp, chorus, tag, ending. So, and we're going to use that as an interlude. Sorry, I said instrumental. Then we have bridge. I want to do bridge again. And then one more time. Sorry, my memory is not working for me today. What is a bridge? Vamp, chorus, tag, ending. Okay, vamp, we're going to do interlude, chorus, tag, ending. Right? So that looks about right. And if we need to go in here and fix things down the line, then we will. Here's kind of a weird thing. You look at the bridge, it's supposed to be 2 lines per slide. It did 1 line, 2 lines, 1 line. Don't ask me why, but we're going to have to fix that. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on this first slide. We're going to go up to the top here. There's a reflow edit section. And when we click on the reflow, we're going to take a look at how all these slides are set up. And the reason why we do this is just an easier way to edit, right? So I have the bridge, right? This is the slide 13, 14, and 15. That's the bridge once through. But we don't need 3 slides because we have 4 lines. We want it to be two lines per slide. So what I have to do is if I just go before by, right, and hit delete, it's going to group all 3. Look at that. It grouped it on every single bridge because they're all unique bridges. But now that's wrong, right? So there's a couple ways you could do this. I could just put this all on one, right? And then go to forgiven. And then if I hit option, enter, or return, it's going to separate them into two different slides. Now it looks right. You could have also instead, right? So instead of having all that in one, you could have just done this, option, enter, return, or whatever. And then now these two, and you just hit delete, and then it groups it that way as well. So now it's grouped the way it's supposed to be. We're going to go back to the show, take a look at how it's laid out. That looks correct. Correct. Looks good. Tag. They might do the tag more often. Again, on Thursday nights, you will be able to discuss this with the worship leaders and the singers to make sure this is all correct. So, you know what? I'm just going to... This little video on the side is kind of annoying me, so... Clear all, F1. Cool. All right, so that's clear. So now we have the song pretty much arranged. So we're going to jump back into our playlist. Sunday morning, Love Over Fear, August 30th. And when I go here, I'm going to go over to the Passion. It's still not linked because we were just adding it within the library. So now we have to press Command F, the Passion, go over to our actual library. And look at that. It's not showing up for some reason. I don't know why. But here is what we're going to do to overcome that. Look at that. Don't know why. So I had to retype it. Let's see if it even... Yeah, I just had to retype it. Okay. So we're going to drag that in. And you'll see this happen. Right? It's nothing. There's nothing there. Oh, no. You have to actually select your actual arrangement of the song. So right now it says Hillsong Worship PCO. That was ProPresenter trying to grab it from Planning Center Online. Planning Center Online didn't have anything when I imported it, so it just made a completely blank group. Right? So we're going to go ahead and click Original, and that fixes it. So now it's there, and we don't actually have to keep this up. We can close out of that, and now the song's ready to go. Now, if you notice this intro, we don't have any, like, you know, cool colors or whatever. So that's another thing that we actually add as what's called a smart playlist. So I'm going to go to a new smart playlist, and every month we get new worship backgrounds that we use. So this Love Over Fear, I should have ProPresenter backgrounds. Take a look. Right? So, you know, I could, you know, do like a Love Over Fear folder, and it will probably take all of this and put it into one big folder. It gets a little confusing that way. Yes, it puts it in order. It's just the way that, and I'm going to try to change this when these videos are getting imported. They're not specifying, like this says, if you look down here, this says message. It doesn't say which week it is. So it's confusing. So that's why it's easier to just have these individual folders, and then we can just delete them later. Okay, so we need to have this. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. It's grabbing the Love Over Fear ProPresenter backgrounds. See, right? So it's all in this one folder. And we're going to go ahead and pick this blue color. Why not, right? And we're going to cue the blue. I don't know if you'd call that like a teal or turquoise. Probably turquoise, maybe. So what we're going to have to do, there are a few cues that need to be set on every new song and every song in general. One of the most important ones, if you right-click, we're going to add an action. And what we're going to do is we're going to change the stage display. So the stage display is what is showing on the back wall behind you that the singers see for their lyrics, right? And I don't have one in here that says worship. So there's normally going to be one that says worship. And I'm going to fix that right now so that you can see what this looks like. So over here, there are the three dots. We have a stage editor. We want to go there. The stage editor is where we create these different unique stage display layouts. Current slide, next slide. We have this one. I'm just going to rename this one Worship because this is pretty accurate. We want to have a clock. We don't really need, if you look over here, we don't really need like a segment countdown or a video countdown, which I'll probably delete. So, yeah, we're just going to call this Worship. And there's going to be a few different ones, right? So we didn't really touch on this. Let's see. I don't know what this one is. What is this? System clock. Okay, so this is just going to be a clock. Usually I have one for worship. There's one for talking points. There's one for videos. So I'm going to just make a couple of these. So, right, so we have this slide. It's blank layout. I'm going to just call this video countdown, right? Okay, so we're going to click add. We're going to click timers, segment, pre-show, game timer, system clock. I think it's a timer, segment countdown. Cool, so this is really tiny. We don't want it that small. Yeah, okay, so it's getting bigger, right? Can I do the little drag thing? No. Let's do 80. I mean, it's kind of big, maybe 100. Maybe 150. Cool, okay. So this is going to be a segment countdown, and I have to link as to what this is. And over here, linked text, segment countdown, not necessary. Video countdown. So whenever there's a video playing on the screen, we can cue this, and whoever's on the stage, they can see the exact ending of the video. For the most part, it's pretty obvious, but if you're up there and you need time to get set up or whatever, you can know how much time you have left before you need to come out on the stage. It's helpful. Okay, so we're going to just deal with these couple. This is just a basic clock. This is the video countdown, and then we have our worship slide. So current slide, next slide. That's the current lyrics. That's the next slide of lyrics. This is why it's really important that we have everything in the right order so that the singers from the stage, they can see the next slide. And if it's saying a bridge when it's supposed to be another chorus, it's going to confuse them. They should know the song, yeah, but it's going to confuse them and they can stumble or, possibly make a mistake or whatnot. Okay, so let's go back to our show. Up in the top, we can click the little play button. We're back at our show. I'm going to minimize the media folder. And I'm going to right click. We're going to add our cues. Okay, so we're going to go down to edit actions. Add action. And then we're going to do an audience look or stage. Oh, you know what? We're going to click edit actions because I already added a stage. So look, we have worship, video, and clock. We're going to put this on worship. We're going to click done. And I'll kind of show you what this looks like. And then we're also going to add another one. We're going to add a communication, which is our lighting. And we're always doing MIDI note off because MIDI note on adds an additional setting that we don't want to worry about. So we're just going to do MIDI note offs. That's it. MIDI note off, lighting control, channel 1. What note? I'm not sure. Let's go to notes. Song, purple, blue, turquoise. Look at that, turquoise. 4. All right, that was easy. So I want to grab this 4. Edit actions, MIDI note off. We're going to go ahead and put this on 4. So that's going to cue lighting. Now, just to kind of give you an example, if I click on verse 1, it has that showing there. If I want to see what the stage display looks like, so Passion of our Savior, the mercy of our God, and then really tiny, we've got the other one, which I'll probably have to fix because that's impossible to see. But I'm not going to do that right now because this is on my personal computer and it's not really that important. Okay, cool. So yeah, you'll go through the song, yada, 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 and that'll always be up. So main output. Cool, so that song is done. We're going to scroll down to the bottom. So look, we've got King of Kings. I don't know if this is the right order, but it'd be the same deal. We've got a master, and we've got somebody already built an original, which is great, and it already has this little graphic dealio, which is wrong because that's not the current series graphics. So we're going to have to go back to our media bin. It doesn't really matter what color we pick. I kind of like them to like progress, from like a blue, like a light blue to a dark blue into a purple, have like a progression a little bit, but that's up to you and the lighting designer for that weekend if we have somebody doing that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do the same thing. We're going to add our actions. We're going to add a communication, MIDI note off. So this is like a blue. So I'm going to go back to notes. We're going to look at blue. This is going to be 5. So we're going to go to Edit Actions, the media note. We're going to set it to 5. Right there. We're also going to edit the stage action just to make sure this is, see, look, it's on nothing. We want to make sure that's on worship. So that one's all done. Probably not. It could be wrong. Check it with the worship leader. Great example. Somebody disabled the tag. We do not disable slides. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and enable the slide. If we don't use that slide, praise forever to the King of Kings. If we're not going to use it that Sunday, we're going to go up to our actual arrangement here, and we're going to remove it like this. And once I click that, it is gone. But I don't know if they're going to use it or not, so I'm just going to leave it. And if you see, these have like these little orange, yellowish icons. These are all shortcut keys. So really helpful. If you get lost, if they're doing something spontaneous, if I need to go to a chorus, the chorus doesn't have a shortcut apparently. It's funny. Usually they have cues. I'm not sure why the chorus didn't, so this is weird. But verse 4 is F, and it should go to there if I click here. Well, it's not. So just forget I said anything. They have worked in previous scenarios, but they are not working now. Okay, so we're going to move on. I'm going to close that. We'll close our media bin for now. Communications point moment number 2. Band underscores, that's just a note for ProPresenter. Sorry, Planning Center. This doesn't change, the same deal. You can do either one of these depending on the feel of the service. This if it's still worshipy, and then this once the band's off and they're transitioning, it's going to change the lights, right? And then you have your slides, connection card, giving setup. So this is where we need to edit, right? So giving setup. Every single week, we have to make sure that we check these things. So we go to our media, and we go to August 30th. Hey, look, there is a new ways to give slide. So I'm going to drag it on top of that and make sure it's blue all the way around. And then I'm going to replace it. As you can see, we've got a caution, or like I don't know, it's not a caution sign. I've been saying caution, whatever you want to call that. Warning sign, maybe, I guess. So it says, look, so remove actions. The media note one is the one that's causing the problems, but I'm not going to remove it. I'm going to go and edit that. Vista off, and that should be 1 because channel 1 or that first one is for like the verbal and host spots. So okay, so we have a video here, and I believe this is supposed to be the 411. It says experience video, but that's changes on the daily, so I'm just going to assume that that's the 411. So I'm going to take this. It says site experience. Yeah, experience video. Well, at least those are labeled the same, so that's nice. And it says the 411. Okay, great. So when I hit that, we're going to be pulling up the 411s. As you can see, it's playing over on the right-hand side. We're going to go to Actions, Communication, Vista, and we are going to put this as, I should probably look before I do that. I just feel like I'm backtracking a lot. So video is 2. So we're going to want to make sure that this is on 2. It's not. It's on 0. We'll go to 2. Click Done. That should be it. Well, no, it's not, because we want to add a stage. Changing what the stage display says. We're going to change that to video countdown. So done. So the way this looks, if I hit the video and then I go to stage display, the video is 7 minutes and 24 seconds and counting. And then it'll go down to 0 when the video is over. Right? So that's what they're seeing on that display. Okay. And depending on whether or not this pastor is in the service or not in the service, you will either have a video or you'll have sermon notes. Now, I will go through both scenarios. Video scenario, again, is a question mark. The media that was there before had been deleted or removed, which is fine because we don't want to keep historic plans in Dropbox and in Planning Center for like years and years. It just gets messy and confusing, so we remove them all. Okay, so sermon video, we are on the 30th, right? So I have the message. We're going to go ahead and drag that in. We got the message. We're going to add a couple of actions. The first one I'm going to do is going to be the stage. And because this is a video, we're going to add the video countdown. That way, again, on the stage, they can see what's left of the video. And we're also going to add a video action, which is going to be, as you can see, it says 2. So we're going to go ahead and add a communication, MIDI note off. And we're going to make sure we're on 2 and click done. Okay, so that one should be done. And my F keys are not working right now. Or, yeah, no, they're not. Oops, see, what did I just do? Yeah, so we're not going to worry about the F keys. Stop it. Edit, presentation, clear all. Okay, just wanted to clear that. Oh, look, did I remove the video? Oh, see, I did something. I'm not quite sure what I did, but apparently oh, it's there. It was just loading. Silly me. Okay, so let's move on. So new wine. Let's go ahead and see. It's already loaded. Let's see if the arrangement is correct. Oh, wrong one. We're under master. We want to be on normal. Or when it says normal, it should be manage arrangements. Can I rename it? Yeah. Original, right? Okay, so that's cool. It's got a question mark. So hey, let's go to backgrounds and go to like let's do this one. Sure. Okay, just like the rest of them. Edit actions, stage action. We're going to put this on worship. Done. A lot of repetitive stuff, but you don't want to forget any of this. Add an action. Oh, let's look and see. What are we trying to do? A purple? It's channel 8, right? If you look there, it says A, and then we're going to go ahead and right click, add an action, communication, MIDI note off, and scroll down to 8. And we should be done for now, right? I say right a lot, like you're here talking to me, so pardon the repetitiveness. Okay, here we go. Moving on. Worry about the arrangement when you're with the actual worship team, unless they have it in planting center. Unless they have it in planning center. And then dismissal. So we had in the past been using a dismissal video, but I don't think we've been using it since we've been doing fully live services. So we're just going to ignore that group completely. Delete, dismissal. I'm going to add some actions, though. We're going to change the stage to a clock. Sure. That'll have a specific name and title and actions on your computer. It'll probably say host. But we're almost done. So now we've got to add an action, communication off. I'm just guessing it's 1, right? Verbal host. Yay. Okay. So that's got that. So congratulations. You just went through a full service. I believe we have overcome most of the hurdles. You know, don't worry about this update available. We're just going to leave it as is. I mean, unless I or a tech lead authorizes it, if there's some major changes in the arrangement of the service. You know, there's a couple different ways we could do it, but we're not going to worry about this for the most part. So that's it. The service is done. So we've overcome a few different problems, some glitches, and just kind of a regular flow for the service. There's not much more to this. Please, if you have issues with your videos and content, look here first, right? So all of these different services have videos, and content that's relating to that Sunday morning. Instead of opening up the Finder, going into Dropbox, downloading things, putting things to downloads, everything should be in this Service Elements folder. Some of these other items should be removed or deleted. I don't need this GLS folder anymore. I'll go in here every month or so and delete things. So it'll stay pretty empty. That way there's not a lot of looking around, right? Okay, so all this is good to go. Oh, and another thing, we have like our main image is just in the Love Over Fear folder. It's also in some of these folders, but I think the practice is just going to have it in the main folder. Okay, one other thing I failed to mention was if you have sermon notes, right? So if Pastor Derek or if one of the pastors are in the building or speaking live, teaching live, there is one other thing that we're going to need to do. We're going to go down to, let's see, experience video sermon. So this is sermon video. We're going to unlink it. And by the way, when you import your service, it will tell you if it's live or if it's video. It'll say it right here. It won't just say sermon. Sometimes it will, because it's depending on whoever's, there are times where it's not going to be clear, but what's expected from the people who are creating these plans is to put right here, have it say live or video. That way we know when we're importing what to put there. So let's just pretend that Pastor Derek is going to be speaking live. What I'm going to do is, so as you can tell, it did not import that ProPresenter file into this folder. So what you have to do is you got to go to Sermon Notes, click on that folder. You got to go up to File. We're going to import a file, right? Okay, import file. We're going to go back to Love Over Fear, August 30th. And this orange file right here, this is a bundle. We're going to click Import. And we're not going to import it to songs. We're going to import it to sermon notes. We're going to click OK. We're going to use existing. Okay, so this is going to start using, it's going to be it's going to use like graphics or whatever that we've already imported. I don't want to make new ones. I don't want to write over the ones that are there. This is saying, hey, there's already a file that's graphic no title, which is this file, the Love Over Fear. They should be putting the title, not just graphic no title. We should know what the graphic is for. I'll mention that to the creative department to see if they can start doing that. So we're going to click Apply to All. We're going to use the existing files, and it might ask me again. Nope. Okay, it didn't ask me again. So now we have the sermon notes for this service. A couple problems that we've been noticing is if we go through, there's a perfect example. So if we go through these and I click space to kind of progress from one slide to the other, it just layered one image on top of the other image, right? And then it did the same thing there. Now these ones are all messed up. The problem is when these are getting built and everyone's learning how to use the new software, it happens sometimes. We have to edit all of these to fix that problem. These are getting imported as what's called background and foreground images. And when they're a background, it will stay on the back of everything, and the layers can go on top of one another. But when it's a foreground image, it's going to replace it altogether. So this is a foreground. So when I click on this, this is actually communicating as what's called a background. So when I go to this one, it's taking another image and putting it on top of it. And we actually need it. We need everything to show up as a foreground. So all of these together. And it's actually a pretty easy solution. We're going to go to media action behavior. We're going to set everything to foreground. So, and then when I click through, oh, that one's kind of messed up. That one's messed up. Okay, so this is great because this gives us other things to fix. So have you noticed the background of this one is black? We don't want that. So we're going to go ahead and right click, hit edit slide, go to all of them. We want all of these to be white. That should fix it. That's interesting. Okay. I'm having a hard time getting these all to have selected size does not match any of the configured screens. Okay, that doesn't really matter because that's not a problem that you guys will be dealing with. That's just because I'm using placeholders from my laptop. I don't have any other. Well, I do have displays connected, but they're not the ones that we'll be using on Sundays. So, all right. So with each one of these, there's going to be a background that needs to be selected, which I'm hoping that that's able to be done. No, it looks like they're not individually changing when I select them as a group. So you'll have to go through and make sure that these all have backgrounds and they all need to be white. Oops, I just want it to be white. Okay, so that's one thing you'd have to do. Hopefully that's not going to be an issue. I'll have to see if there's another setting on my part. It could just be my computer. But for the most part, that should be fixed by whoever is creating these presentations. So in case we have any issues with these pictures, they've always uploaded them into the folder for that week. You notice these are the same pictures down here. That's just in case we have any issues. But we should not for the most part. I believe that's it. Thank you guys for watching this video. I know it was incredibly long. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this. Put it on time and a half or 2 times if you want to fly through it quickly. There will be more videos like this to come, probably with lighting and even running sound. So keep an eye out for that. And I hope this served you well. Look forward to seeing you on Sunday.